Hey guys, welcome. How's everybody doing tonight? So yeah, I was planning to get started a lot sooner. Let me see. It always seems like this happens whenever I'm trying to hurry up and then I can never get anything to work right. So I can't find any of the stuff that I had ready to be played on here. And there. I don't really have anything to share. Nope. Yep. I'll just do this one. All right. So yeah. Did you see the my new thumbnail? I just made that one. Um Let me see if I can share it. That's pretty cool, right? This is what I envision that most of the people who follow this case like see when they see Chris Watts. Um, I think it's kind of funny. Um, hey Molly, hey Olga, hey Cuffy. I hope everyone's doing good today. So I've got a pretty interesting topic. It's, um, the idea was I keep hearing people talk about, the mistress and, she was targeting him because she was married. And I was actually exploring if there was like a definition, some kind of like clinical definition for somebody who targets married people and tries to steal them. And I found out there's not. Hey, Gerald's 2 cents. I'm glad you joined us. So I'm just kind of getting started. So I don't have like a cool term to use, but I've come up with a couple of different things that kind of relate to that type of person. Somebody who is drawn to like somebody who's already taken, essentially. Um, so I think it might be interesting. Um, just so you guys know, the live stream we did last night um, got taken down by YouTube because of some TV show that used a couple of pieces of that um, footage that I shared last night. And it's going to take like 30 days before it gets resolved. And then maybe it'll be back. I don't know. It's being disputed because I obviously didn't steal it from this TV show. Um, it's just the actual like public body cam stuff. But yeah. So anyway, today I just kind of wanted to talk about Nicole Kessinger, and I thought we would talk about it in a way that I haven't heard it talked about that much. Um, so a couple of terms that I've come up with to describe, the mistress type. Obviously there's the other woman. Um, there's mate poaching. Um, Hypergamy is a term used for marrying up, which I thought is interesting. I don't think Nicole Kessinger was trying to marry up, but I just thought it was interesting. So we'll talk about that one also, just because. And then we've also already talked about the hyperbristophilia, those people who are attracted to people who committed crimes. But yeah, so I've got a few things that we can talk about. And ultimately, the goal here is to just hang out and talk about Nicole Kessinger. Um, so I'm just going to kind of try to read through some of this stuff that I got here. Human relationships are endlessly complex. often reflecting our deepest desires, fears, and social conditioning. Few rational dynamics spark as much intrigue or controversy as when a woman actively pursues a man who is already in a committed relationship. Commonly, they're known as the other woman. She appears in, like, if you in all sorts of forms of media. She's in countless stories from, ancient mythology to modern films. Um, and it's always headline grabbing, too. Our collective fascination usually stems from one provocative question: why would anyone choose an unavailable partner? And as we know, Nicole Kessinger was, Googling this family for quite a while. There's a pretty big rumor stating that she knew everything about Chris before she actually met him. And, her entire goal was to replace Shanann. And there's actually, a little bit of possible truth to that kind of mindset when we look at some of these terms, like the term mate poaching. It's kind of a new term, I think. And, there is not a clinical term for this, but I have known many people who always are drawn to the married, um, rather than, somebody who's, actually single and can get married. Um, and I've always wondered, well, why would you even do that if you know that they're married? Um, and I don't know. I've never really like did any research on this before. Um, but yeah. So let me see. Where's mate poaching? It refers to the pursuit of a partner who is already involved with someone else. There are researchers studying this phenomenon, and mate poaching, um, it's kind of a good term, I think, for this. I've never really thought of it that way. Um, there's like the existing partner may seem more attractive because he's already managed to secure another person's affection. And, when you think about it like that, was Nicole Kessinger like attracted to Chris simply because he was in Shanann's Facebook, you know, live streams that she was doing all the time? She saw him as, I don't know, it's weird when you watch people on social media, you don't really know what they're like because they present themselves a certain way. So Shanann was always presenting Chris as, a doting father. He was always playing with the kids. I think the other day I put up a video of um, how he was tossing the kids up in the air while Shanann was live streaming. Let me see if I can find that one again. Most likely I won't be able to. I haven't figured out how to actually set this stuff up easily. Like, I've got all this stuff, but it's in like 50 different folders and across the cloud and my desktop, and like it's weird. But I never seem to be able to find it when I want to. But I do know where I can find it. It should be in my Canva account. Mm, Well, shoot. Yeah, I shouldn't even bother trying to do this stuff. It never works when I'm like, when you guys are watching, I just can't do anything right. Um, where is it? Mm, and it's not even here. That's so weird. I know I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I just don't know where it is on my computer. That's sad. I thought I had it on here, but I don't. Anyway, but my point is that, yeah, Nicole Kessinger, was she only interested in Chris because he was married? I know she claims that she didn't know that he was married, but we've kind of seen that contra the way she talks about it. There's like a contradiction in her story on whether or not that's true or not. So, what do you guys think? Do you think Nicole Kessinger is that type of person who's jealous of somebody else so much that she tries to steal a husband, replace the wife? Is that jealousy or envy? I don't know. It could be either, right? So why would somebody intentionally poach a taken partner? One idea is that these women might be responding to an unconscious or conscious sense of competition. The fact that a man is already chosen may signal higher value in terms of emotional, social, and financial stability. Another angle is the thrill of the chase. Growing up, when I hear this, I know several people who are like this, like they just are drawn. Yeah. Low self-esteem. I think that could be it too. I think it would apply a little bit differently. I don't think uh, well, let me just kind of go through what I do have, and then uh, I think there might be something to that, Mally, about the low self-esteem could um, trigger somebody to want to prove themselves to, like say they don't view themselves as valuable, but they value other people's lives and they want that, and so they want to prove that they're as good. In that sense, maybe I think um, that competition could be a thing. Um, so yeah, the thrill of the chase, winning over somebody unavailable can provide an exhilarating sense of power. It's weird to think of it as power. Um, but if you're stealing somebody's partner, it's not easy. If you've watched many movies at all, there's always somebody who gets hurt in these affairs, right? And it's typically not the person having the affair, it's everyone else. So the person, um, cheating or whatever doesn't have the same feelings as the person who's being cheated on, and the person that they're cheating on with is expecting them to leave the other person, but I don't think they usually do. Now, free Luigi, is that a reference to Luigi Mangione? I haven't talked about him in a while. Um, but I've not heard that Chris was on any illegal drugs. But, that would be a way. I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. I had a friend, he grew up in a middle class family. He had, a future ahead of him. He had college paid for and everything. He met some girl and she literally got him hooked on meth. And he would show up to my house, and I had roommates at the time, and he would show up when I wasn't there, and then he would beg my roommates for money. And I mean, it was crazy. Like, drugs really can destroy a person, and you don't recover fully even if you get off of the drugs, because it changes your brain. It changes you physically and mentally, and you're just never the same. So the best advice is never do drugs. And if you do, hopefully you've got a prescription and a doctor is watching you so that you don't go crazy. Additionally, there's attachment issues that may play a role in this. Individuals who repeatedly engage in mate poaching might struggle with insecure or anxious attachment, seeking reassurances of their worthiness by outcompeting another woman for a particular man's attention. And that's kind of what I was trying to say, but I wrote it down a little bit better um, there. Whether they consciously recognize it or not is um, particularly interesting because I swear I've met people who consciously do this. And then I've also had a couple friends who do this and they don't realize they're doing it. So I think it could be, both a conscious choice and it could also be subconscious. Uh, you know, Mate poaching often sparks moral outrage. Nobody's ever, looked on with good, like, yeah, I'm glad you stole so and so from his family. It's always been a bad thing. And I'm thinking, what was that story with I think they had the red A on their shirt for adultery. It was like, I don't know. I can't remember that far back, but it was like an adultery story about why you shouldn't cheat. Um, the poached man himself also faces condemnation. Condemnation. I can't say that right now. There are cultural narratives that often minimize his role in this, focusing instead on the woman as a temptress. But we all know that the guy goes off on his own, or if the roles were reversed, whoever's cheating, you know, they are out looking for something. Um, so there are stereotypes that the man is, harmless. He has harmless intentions, but he gets seduced by another woman. But it's not always that way. Um, the man could be seducing the woman, and she still takes all the blame. Um, and I mentioned hypergamy, and I think this is an interesting term for people who try to marry up. They seek partners with a higher social or economic status. While often discussed in a historical or anthropological way, where a woman might look for a husband with resources and power, modern hyper hypergamy manifests in more subtle ways. A taken man may appear to be more of a proven provider, um, offering concrete evidence and of capability and reliability, thus becoming more desirable. So Gerald's 2 cents says maybe Chris tried MJ or MD with Nicole for the first time. What is MJ and MD? I'm assuming this is some sort of drug. Um, yeah. Ah, yeah. That's legal almost everywhere. I don't know. What's MD? MD is ecstasy. I've constantly wondered what the dark things that were supposedly going on in Nicole Kessinger's house. Weed, I think, wasn't Colorado one of the first states to legalize it? Yeah. But yeah, so from an evolutionary standpoint, hypergamy can be viewed as a strategy for survival, choosing a partner who offers financial or social stability and theoretically lead to a better support for future offspring. You think about all those people who um, from small countries that try to marry an American or somebody from, Europe or Australia because they have better financial, status. I think it's a valid thing too. I think if you were smart about it, you could find support that way in choosing a partner. But as long as you choose a partner who's not already married, uh, that might be a better thing. Um, you can intertwine that with mate poaching when a woman specifically targets a married man who appears successful, stable, and devoted. And, Chris Watts appeared to be all of those things. He had a big house, he had a work truck, he had a fancy car, he had a family, and he seemed to enjoy his life. While I don't even know if I'm saying this right. Hypergamy, it sounds like a weird word to me. While hypergamy isn't inherently malicious, it can lead to exploitive or transactional relationships if left unchecked. So you don't want that person who's just out for your money. We've all kind of heard that our entire lives probably. You want the kind-hearted person, not the greedy person who's only out for your money. Um, or they have their own money, those kind of things. But critics argue that hypergamy reduces relationships to a material or status based transaction. It's kind of like a business partnership. And if you look at it that way, it doesn't sound so bad. I mean, especially when marriages are, you know, ending in divorce more than 50% of the time already. Who's to say that this is better or worse, than marrying for love? Um, I I have some weird ideas about that, especially when you look at what is it, the arranged marriages from the old days, how everyone seemed to think marrying for love was so much better. Um, I think people didn't get divorced as much back then because they assumed that that's all they could have. Um, and it wasn't always bad. There's also the fear of commitment. So, if you're afraid of committing to someone, how does this apply to the mistress role? Well, you don't want to get attached. The best way to do that is to have an affair with a married man, right? Because hopefully he doesn't get attached and then you don't have to have that breakup drama at the end. But um, it might seem contradictory for someone with a fear of commitment to pursue a seemingly serious relationship partner, one who is already married or in a long term commitment. However, choosing an unavailable man can function as a subconscious protective measure. I think that's interesting. Hey, Lindy, thanks for joining. Hope you enjoy this. This is not a very well planned out live stream, unfortunately. Yesterday, my live stream was really good. I enjoyed doing it. We watched the entire body cam footage, but this morning I woke up and some TV network blocked my video because of the body cam footage. Apparently, there was like 12 different clips that they used in their show. I guess it was like a part of a 4 episode thing. And one of the episodes was on Chris Watts, and the other ones were on other true crime stuff. Um, so I don't know how it got blocked. It must have been automatic because the body cam footage is public domain as far as I know. Let's see. Where was it? Fear of commitment, protective measure. That's an interesting way to look at it. If you're afraid of getting hurt in a relationship, it seems like if you're going to go after somebody who's married, then um, you're protecting yourself because you don't necessarily need to worry about the breakup because there's no like real togetherness, you know. Um, some individuals find comfort in constraints of dating someone who can't commit. The emotional distance and secrecy can feel safer than the vulnerability required in a traditional, fully available partnership. Limerence, that's a good term. I have not heard of it. I'm actually gonna Google that. I like the way that word sounds. Yeah, limerence is a state of mind resulting from romantic feelings for another person. It typically involves intrusive and melancholic thoughts, a tragic concerns for the object of one's affection. That's an interesting psychological term, and it's weird that it didn't come up when I was looking up this stuff. Um, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Obsessive thoughts, intense longing, a desire for, um, you know, reciprocatory reciprocatory feelings. You know, you basically, I mean, it sounds to me like a relationship, but you know, if I'm looking at the definition that Cuff you gave us, but then I'm looking on Wikipedia right now, and it's a lot more in depth than just that. Um, it kind of reminds me of, you know, what is that movie from the 90s about the crazy lady who was dating a married man. I know I know everybody's watched this or heard of it at least. Basic Instincts, right? That's it. I think it's Basic Instincts. So, yeah, there's that safer feeling when you don't have to, you know, allow yourself to be vulnerable. And then you rationalize it with he's perfect but married or he can't commit right now. So you're effectively sidestepping the real risk of being emotionally open to someone. And let's see. Fatal Attraction. Yes, that's the one. What is Basic Instincts? That one's not as good, right? Um, yeah, you know, when you start trying to guess other people's thoughts, that just sounds like, you know, a bad idea. Um, yeah, these are all interesting. You know, when you think of Nicole Kessinger, you know, we don't know a lot about her, you know, mental health or anything other than Chris Watts said she was bipolar and she would have these episodes. We don't know what that was like. I can imagine what it's like because I've seen bipolar. I understand it fairly well. Um, but you know, the weird thing about bipolar is that it's not the same for every single person. It's described the same way simply because of the mood swings, um, but it doesn't always. It's not always the same. Let's see. I'm trying to find, you know, some specific information that we can compare to Nicole Kessinger. You know, she if she was, um, you know, stalking this married man and she, you know, found a way to put herself into his, you know, view so that she could, you know, wedge her way in and steal him away from his family. um, that's kind of a scary thought when you start thinking of it as like premeditated. You know, there's also the very real chance that it was completely happenstance. They just met at work. They just had a few conversations. The spark kind of intensified. Chris Watts needed, you know, to feel some, he was in need of like certain emotional things that he wasn't getting from his wife. And, he eventually probably started confiding into Nicole. And, next thing you know, they've got a secret affair going. Yeah, Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. I don't remember the actual movie. Um, but I think I remember seeing like the movie titles for Fatal Attraction and Basic Instincts, and I can't remember which is which. So Lindy, what do you mean they were gonna name their firstborn son Limerence? Was that a real thing? That would be a weird name for sure. It's actually it sounds like a good name, to be honest, until you Google what it means. uh, so real life scenarios don't always fit neatly into the moral black and white. Some women don't discover the man they're dating is married until they're already emotionally attached. And see, that's usually what happens in affairs. Um, and that's how the person who initiated the affair, the married person, he's I say he because it seems like that happens more often, but um, wives also cheat. Um, but it does seem like he doesn't get hurt. He's got the best of both worlds. He's got his like secret um covert affair going on. Being secret alone makes it more fun. And then he gets to come home and still have, that the love of a wife who knows him and has known him for years, and they have a deeper connection. Um, and then the people who get hurt is everyone else besides him. Um, and let's see. So yeah, I guess once Chris's crimes became public, Nicole Kessinger immediately faced intense vilification. I mean, it was just the natural thing to think. Well, who else was involved? What else was going on? Oh my God, he had a mistress. She must have been in on it. She didn't want him to go back to his wife. You know, it's kind of a natural way of thinking about this. And Lindy says that the name was a joke, but it does sound like a baby boy's name. And it does. It actually sounds like, the way the word comes out of my mouth, it reminds me of like a limerick, you know. It's actually a pretty nice name until you Google the definition. Limerence, Limerence. I don't know. Is it Limerence or Limerence? Because Limerence sounds better than Limerence. I actually think they did interview the coworkers because some of the coworkers had mentioned that Chris Watts was more moody than usual, that little things would cause him to snap at work. And this was all after, the Nutgate incident and before the murders. Like he would just kind of snap at people, which before that, I believe everyone saw him as, a calm, relaxed person. And as I was saying, there isn't a lot known about Nicole Kessinger. Every time any piece of information about her shows up on the internet, it gets taken down. And, there's a lot of rumors. I've seen a lot of things that look like it's real, and it probably is. But, when I look again, it's not there. Um, So we don't really know her personal history. I believe I've seen at least one um, time she got arrested. I don't know if she even got charged with it, but she was at least involved in something they got that the police were involved with before when she was younger. Um, she was in her late 20s at the time she met Chris. She had a college degree. She worked as a contractor for Anadarko. Um, Public records and official statements don't give, extensive details about her childhood, um, any of her prior relationships. Do any of you guys know about um, any of her previous boyfriends? Has anybody got any information on those? Because it's almost like after this happened, everything got erased. And, I know that that would cost a lot of money to do. If she did that. Or, I mean, I guess there's always the possibility that she didn't have a Facebook, um, that she didn't have social media, but we don't even know much about how her family life was with her parents. I don't even know if she has brothers and sisters or if she's got cousins that are like, brothers and sisters. Um, or aunts and uncles, all of that stuff. I don't know very much about Nicole Kessinger. Um, But in a professional setting, she was described as intelligent, capable. She was trained in geology, so she studied, rocks and the ground, which I find kind of boring. But I always still like to, I pick up cool looking rocks. I don't know what they are. I don't really care either. But you know, um, I know people can get excited about geology. It is an interesting field to a lot of people. Um, we don't know much about her friends. I think I just saw something the other night about one of Nicole Kessinger's friends, but I didn't know if it was true or not. So I'm always skeptical when I see new information about anybody involved in this case. Her personality, um, I don't even think we know her real personality. We know that she went, to the sand dunes with Chris Watts. We know that she flirted with him in voicemails, but that's the beginning of a relationship. Um, and people act differently then. So, I mean, there's just a lot we don't know. And it's fun to speculate, but then again, it's kind of, uh, oh, hey guys, I don't think anybody told me that my cam turned off, but it did. So yeah, we know that Nicole Kessinger keeps a low profile now, and I believe the most recent image that anybody has seen is the one of her from the funeral, um, and it's just of her for a second. Um, I haven't shared that on my YouTube channel. I think funerals should be private, even if the person we see at them is somebody we want to know where they are. Um, it's I don't know. Funerals are private things. But yeah, she keeps a low profile. There's rumors that pop up all the time about her. Even the Chris Watts books that pop up. The one from what is his name? His neighbor at the jail, Tallman. The Tallman books suggest that Chris had talked about her being involved in the murders and things like that. Um, but Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? What should we talk about? Was Nicole Kessinger involved? Has anybody talked to Nicole Kessinger's friend Danielle ever? Has there ever been an interview? It's weird to me that there is no like interviews. It's like has such control over everyone that she's preventing everyone from talking about her, that knew her, that actually knew her. But then she allows people to talk about her regarding this case because she stays hidden, you know. Um, I've been wondering why she hasn't spoken up about why she's not involved after all this time. And, something that always comes to my mind is that if you're not guilty, you don't have anything to prove. You shouldn't have to defend yourself. Um, so maybe that's her mindset. I don't know. Um, I know that there's a lot of weird things that happened during this case. And when you look back at it, there's a lot of red flags. Was she there? Did she push him to do this? Is this something that they talked about? We don't know that. And I don't think we'll ever will. I don't think she would admit it if she did. Um, she was smart enough to delete everything off of her phone, right? And, they have really good programs that can pull all of the data off your phone. And then they've got other programs that take that data and translate it into usable information. And, I think the state of Colorado could have done that. And maybe they were able to get something that didn't get deleted all the way. But we don't know. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find that. I'm going to take a minute here, guys. Just bear with me and see if I can find something. Oh, you know what? While I'm doing this, maybe I could just play a little preview of something I'm working on. And of course, I never can find anything on my computer. I swear I just saw it. I've been working on an Israel Keys video, and if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. It's pretty interesting. I swear I just saw it. Coffee kiosk glows in the winter darkness. So inside Samantha Koenig. This is what I'm working on. It's not quite finished yet. There's a few things I've got to switch around, but I'll give you guys a preview. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit of, cause a little intrigue. So you do a little research on this guy. Because this is one scary killer. Nick tidies up, unaware of the masked figure watching from the shadows. Israel Keys waits for the right moment. Closing time. He strides up to the window and orders a coffee in a calm voice. Samantha, polite but tired, makes the drink. She turns back and finds a gun pointed at her. In a heartbeat, Keys vaults inside the tiny stand. Cold zip ties bite into her wrists as he binds her hands. Her heart pounds. The night's quiet is shattered by terror. Samantha seizes a chance. She bolts into the snowy darkness, but Keys is prepared. He tackles her to the ground before she can scream. Pressing the gun to her body, he whispers that the gun's rounds are quiet. No one will hear a thing. Don't make me kill you. Under the halo of a street lamp, he marches the trembling teen across the street to a dark pickup truck. Earlier that day, Keys had removed the truck's license plate and toolbox. Now he secures Samantha inside and drives off into the Alaska night. In the passenger seat, his victim sits bound and blindfolded, choking back sobs as reality sets in. For Samantha Koenig, This is the beginning of a waking nightmare. For Israel Keyes, it is the culmination of careful, cold-blooded planning. Welcome to Timeless Mysteries. Please like and subscribe. Today we discuss a killer who's not your typical killer. Inside the truck, Keyes speaks in a strangely reassuring tone. He tells Samantha this is just a kidnapping for ransom. If she cooperates, she'll be returned safely to her family. Desperate for hope, Samantha plays along, telling him her family doesn't have much money. Keyes remains unnervingly calm and convincing, but when he realizes Samantha's cell phone was left behind, a critical piece of his plan, he turns the truck around. In an almost unbelievable display of composure, Keyes drives back to the crime scene. He leaves Samantha tied up in the cab while he slips back into the coffee stand to retrieve her phone. Within minutes, he uses it to send deceptive text messages. One goes to her boyfriend, another to her employer. Feigning an emotional meltdown, "I'm spending a couple of days away, just need time," the text says. Keyes even removes the phone's battery to prevent tracing. This level of methodical misdirection is chilling. He is not just kidnapping Samantha, he is constructing an elaborate lie around her disappearance. As the truck roars away again, Samantha does everything she can to survive. She even provides Keyes the pin to her debit card and directions to her house, suggesting where the card is kept, hoping compliance will spare her life. Keyes temporarily stashes her in a cold, dark shed beside his house, binding her and cranking up a radio to mask any screams. He warns that he has a police scanner and he will know if she tries to alert anyone. Samantha's breath freezes in the air of the unheated shed. She is terrified, but she still believes there's a chance that he will let her go. That hope is brutally dashed when... So I can't find it. I had some of the interrogation footage of Nicole Kessinger. I thought it'd be good to share it. But I don't know, we could talk about Chris Watts and the lie detector. So this is, I think after they had given him the lie detector. And, this actually drives me crazy watching this. The way that Tammy is like, oh, this is real. We know for sure. And if you look and you watch her, you can tell she's acting. At least I can.
Forget part of it, didn't I? So I brought Graham in here because we want to talk to you about the results, okay?
Okay.
So it is completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise. Chris, I know. Stop. It's time. Just stop for a minute. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
They are just prepping him to get a confession. Look how she's leaning in. He's leaning back. He is not in a comfortable place. And this guy's like, oh, relax. Just breathe in. It's okay. We'll understand. And the way, when you see her talking, she is acting.
There's a reason you feel sick to your stomach. And when people hold stuff inside, it makes you physically ill. And I can just tell on your face, I could tell from the second you walked in that you were wanting to just come clean and just be done with this. And I appreciate that because you knew sitting down in that chair that you weren't going to pass today, and you knew I was going to find out because I told you that. And then you continued to stay knowing that you could, at the end, say, you know what, I just need to get this off my chest. Like, I just need to tell you what happened. We're not here to play games. We're not here to do any of that with you. We just want to know what happened. So can you start from the beginning and tell us what happened?
Everything that I've told you, I did not lie on this polygraph. I don't know how much I could tell you right now. Like, I did not.
Yeah, it's not even an option right now because you did not pass the polygraph. So I know you were being deceptive. So that's not even an issue right now. The issue right now is what happened to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. That's the issue right now.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about that. I know you want to tell us. I can see it in your face.
You know, I don't think I've heard her say one time anything in a negative, like any negative anything. So it's like you want to tell us this. It's you want to come clean. It's not like stop hiding this from me, you know. She's convincing him that it's okay to think about this and let it out. It's actually very clever if you think about it from the way she's kind of manipulating him into telling the truth. She's choosing the exact right words that Chris needs to hear in this exact right moment so that he will confess. It's very coercive, if in my opinion, the whole lie detector thing without an attorney there, all of that, like, but I guess any tool that they can use to get a confession is better to use it than not to use it, and she used it very well. But if you listen to the way she's talking, you can tell she's acting too. It's kind of the same. I hear the same like tinge in Chris Watts's voice when he says, "I said everything is true." You know, the way he kind of shrinks back a little bit, tries to sound small. Um,
Holding this lie in is going to do nothing for you.
I know this. Like,
Okay.
I'm not like trying to like cover things up. Like,
Yeah, but you kind of are because it's normal. Normal people would do that. Normal people that make a mistake initially are going to go, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. That's normal. I would expect that. It's just like if you ask your kid, you know, did you write on the wall? And they go, no. And you're like, you have marker on your hand. Like, I know you just wrote on the wall. And they're like, oh, okay. That's a natural reaction that someone's going to initially lie about something like that and then eventually tell the truth. So this is your eventually telling the truth time. This is where the rubber meets the road, Chris. Like, don't let this continue any longer, please.
I'm not trying to make anything continue. Like, I want them back home. Like,
but you know they're not coming back home. You know that.
I don't know in the back of my head. I hope they come back home.
But you know they're not.
I hope they come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know they're not coming back home.
Chris, Timmy and I are confused, okay? And here's what we're confused about. I told you that we've done some work overnight.
Yeah.
I told you that we've got a lot of leads, okay? That wasn't a lie.
I know.
We know a lot more than you think we do, okay?
See, when I watch this now, I've watched this many times, and I've always like heard Tammy talking, you know. But I think if Agent Coder wasn't there, I don't think this confession would have ever came out. She pushes him hard, and then he convinces Chris to relax, and it's partially with his voice and the way he's presenting everything a lot slower, you know, more relaxed. He's kind of leaning back in his chair. I think there's like a, you know, I see it in movies, obviously, the good cop, bad cop kind of thing. But this is a little different than that because she's trying to force her way in to get him to say what she knows to be true. And then he's just watching, you know, he's kind of trying to be Chris's friend. You know, we just saw him say, oh, just breathe, take a deep breath. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. He's comforting him in a way so that he can come to terms in his own mind that he wants to confess.
And here's where we're confused. You're this great guy. I'm not just telling you that, okay? I'm telling you that because everyone tells us that, okay? We can't find anyone to say anything bad about you. Chris is a great guy. He's a good father. He's a good man. or confused as to why you're not taking care of your beautiful children?
I'm not taking care of them right now.
Right now. Where are they?
I don't know where they're at. I do not know where they are at. If I could have my babies back home right now, I would. I want them back. I want everybody back. That is the God's honest truth.
You know, I think this, they're just staring at him, paused, not saying anything, is very powerful. Because, you know, Chris Watts feels guilty um, because he is guilty. But look at them. They're just staring at him for like a minute or two. You know, I've got it paused at the moment, but it wasn't paused. They just stare at him. I never heard that ticking clock until you mentioned it. That's all I hear. But it looks like it's a still image is what it looks like.
Okay. We just can't figure out why there's two Chris's. Okay? We talked about that last night.
Yes.
We just can't figure it out. There's a Chris, okay? If somebody asked me my kid's child routine, I would say, I don't know, go ask their mom. That's the truth, right? And so it is very surprising to me, and it warms my heart that you're the type of dad who can pack a bag in the morning, and you know just what to put in there, and you know just what to put in there as a backup in case they have an accident, okay? You know what the clothes to put in there, you know what they have for breakfast, you know what they have for a snack, and a dinner, and a nighttime snack. You can tell me the book you read to your daughters, okay? I know you love them. And you're not faking that, are you? It's real, okay? There's a lot of guys who come in here and try to tell me that, and I know they're lying, okay? Because they can't answer those questions that you can answer, okay? But you are here today lying about something else. So we need to talk about that, okay?
I cheated on her.
I know. And this is very good.
I'm not proud of it. I didn't think anything like that could happen. I don't think I would ever do it, but I did.
I know. Keep going.
And she accused me of it. I denied it. I cheated on her, and I feel horrible for it. Like, she was pregnant, and it was, I don't want to, I didn't hurt her. I cheated on her. I hurt her emotionally. I cheated on her. And I feel absolutely horrible about this, but that's what I've been holding. When I didn't go to the Rocky game, I was with her.
Okay.
I went to dinner with her.
Okay. Keep going.
That 5 weeks I was alone, I was with her most of the time.
Okay. You're doing a good job. This is the Chris that I knew would come out today. This is the Chris who tells the truth because you're a truth teller.
When I tell you I fell out of love, it's because I fell in love with her.
Absolutely.
Okay? I mean, that's God's honest truth.
Okay. Who is her?
So I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to ruin her life. Like, if something like this, I don't want her involved in this.
Okay. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
I knew that you would say you didn't want to get her involved.
But
because you'd like to take care of people.
She's a wonderful person. Like, I mean, she knew I was married, yes. And I told her we were going through issues, yes.
Yes.
Lindy, I don't know why you can't type emojis. Let me see if I can type one. It doesn't come out as an emoji. It might be because I'm using StreamYard and not YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. But I wanted to like hop in here. He's talking about Nicole Kessinger, right? He's like, I don't want to get her involved. But the agent coder is saying, we already knew that. But I don't know why they don't question this more right then when he says, I don't want to get her involved. Did they genuinely think that she had nothing to do with this, knew nothing of it? Or was this, just more of a way to get him to confess more? Because he said, I did it, but he says, keep going, and then he kind of goes back and forth. And I don't know if he's still confessing or not. It's kind of weird.
And I told her that, we were going to get, at the end, like, you're going to get separated. Like, once I figured out what that was, I didn't know what that was going to be.
I know.
I had no idea. I like, I saw her, took my breath away, and I'd never thought in a million years that could happen.
I know.
I know you think I'm a figure, but it was, I never felt that way about anybody in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Chris, that's not your fault.
No, I'm just.
Well, can we do this? I know you want to take care of her it's because you're the type of guy that takes care of women. It is. You took care of your wife, you took care of your daughters, you were very good at taking care of her, and you want to take care of her. So can we make a deal? I don't think this girl did anything to hurt anybody, but I can't walk out of here wondering. So can we leave her out of it?
Okay.
And get back to your wife and your daughters?
Okay.
Where are they?
See, I don't know why they didn't investigate Nicole Kessinger. He just said, it is suspicious that she's involved in this and your family died. But I don't know. These two people here have teamed up perfectly, and apparently Chris Watts has never watched a single like crime movie because he assumes that the lie detector test is real, and he assumes that these guys are actually trying to help him. And he confesses, and I'm glad he confessed. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. He should have gotten an attorney. He should have. I don't know. The first time I watched this, I really was upset how coercive this was. The way Tammy was saying, "Oh, we know. There's no question. We have no doubt at all that you killed your family. It's true. We've got the proof and everything." But until this time watching it, I had never noticed how cool and calm and relaxed that my cam keeps turning off. But yeah, the agent coder, the way he talks, he has like a slow pace, and I think it's soothing. And that's why Chris actually confessed. I don't think it was Tammy that got the confession, even though Agent Coder said fewer words. He chose his words perfectly. It's really interesting to look at this way.
I do not know. That was what I was holding back. Like, I didn't know, what I did. I know.
Chris, in the interview today, you weren't asked about infidelity. You were asked about...
I was holding back from last night.
That's not why you feel today.
That's not how that works. You would have reactions to every single question, not just the ones that we talked about being important.
Like the ones you wanted me to lie about, is that what you're talking about?
No, the ones about her disappearance and knowing where she's at, and about seeing her last.
I was not lying about those things. So
can I tell you what I think?
Yes.
Okay.
See how he asks that question? Can I tell you what I think? He is fatherly. Fireside Chat says that Coder was kind of fatherly. He really is using whatever experience he has to get this confession out of this guy the best way he knows how. He seems, friendly and fatherly 100%. I can only imagine what he really felt. He's sitting in front of a killer trying to have a friendly conversation. I know Tammy has spoke about how she felt disgusted, being in the same room, but she's very aggressive in this. Um, I don't know. I think Coder is the one that actually got the confession. Now that I'm looking at it this way.
So, going into that interview today with Tammy, where we strapped you in, we knew all about Nikki. Okay? All about her. And you're doing a very good job right now, because you didn't have to tell us about her, but you did.
I couldn't hold that in anymore.
I know. We could see it in your chest
I
and
can't.
in your eyes. Okay? Here's the challenge that we have. We knew about Nikki, and so we didn't need to ask you about her in the polygraph. We just didn't need to, because we knew. Okay? And so that's why we didn't ask you, because we already knew the answer. Okay? We're very, very worried about your daughters and your wife.
I am too.
Okay? So can I tell you, maybe based on the people that I've talked to, and
But wait a second. I'm a little confused. Did he say, I am too? He said, we're very worried about your wife. I thought he already said, I did it. Did I mishear that before? Or was he talking about something else?
Tammy talks to, based on all the investigations we've done, based on your cell phone, both your cell phones, your wife's cell phone, Nikki's cell phone, okay? Based on talking with family members and friends, and based on talking with everyone. Here's what we know, okay? And I'm not gonna lie to you right now, here's what we know, okay? Chris is a good man. Everyone said it, okay? I'm not just telling you that because I, want to blow smoke here. You're a good man, okay? Nobody can fake answers about packing a backpack, nobody. You either pack a backpack for your kids or you don't, okay? This should have been the happiest time of your marriage, okay? You and Shanann. This should have been the happiest time. She's making a little money, she's making good money. You're making great money, you both have a job, you have beautiful kids, you have a beautiful house, you're in Colorado, clean air, good people, okay? And on top of that, you look pretty good now. You're pretty fit, okay? This should have been a time in your marriage where you guys were.
You guys do hear all of the compliments that this guy has given him. He's totally boosting his ego the whole time. I mean, even like 5 minutes ago, he was still, fluffing him up. Hey, you're a good dad. He said, what do you call it? You are a protector or something of women when he was talking about Nicole Kessinger. It's I don't know the psychology like they do, but I can see it at work. Like I am not a psychologist or anything, but I've read a lot of books, so I can kind of pick up on things, and I've watched a lot of true crime stuff, so I kind of know what they're trying to do in, a simplified kind of way. But that man is really working hard to keep himself and his voice calm. And, instead of like using accusatory words, being aggressive, he's fluffing up Chris Watts's ego this whole time.
Happy and thriving and productive, okay? And I believe that Shanann's the reason none of that happened. I believe that she's a controlling person. Maybe doesn't listen to you as much as she should. I think that she can do whatever she wants and you can't. Okay? I think if you were to go to a restaurant, she would order whatever the hell she wants. And as soon as you order a nice steak, she says, whoa, buddy. Okay? A woman that lets her man do all of the backpack packing and all of the cooking.
I'll do all the cooking, but like she cooks like I
Yeah.
do like some things here and there.
Okay? That's because you're a good person, and I think that she...
See, he keeps doing it. You're a good person. You did all of these things. We understand, that your wife was bossy. He just said that too. You wanted a steak. She didn't want you to have a steak. But you're a good man.
started on the path to leave the marriage. Okay? It's ironic that we're talking about you and Nikki. I think that she was the one who started on that path first. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't have thought about
Okay. And the other thing I think is interesting is, even though she is that type of person that's controlling, doesn't listen, does what she wants, is walking away from her kids, here you are defending her. Because to your core, you want to take care of the people you love. Okay. And that's the reason why we want to give you an opportunity today to just help us find them. Okay? Will you do that for us?
that. I'll do whatever I can to help to find where they're at.
Okay.
Of course he wants to help them find them. You know, I swear, yeah, Alicia, I saw your message about, you know, he said I did it, but he was talking about having an affair. I swear it sounded like he was saying, you know, yeah, I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. I thought it was, you know, his first, like, I did it, his first bit of the confession. I think if they wouldn't have asked about that and he wouldn't have confessed to the affair, none of this would have worked out the same way. It's interesting to me, all the little things that have to have happened for him to confess. The first few times that I've watched this, all I ever noticed before was Tammy and how aggressive she was and how she kept throwing these things out. I've never really listened to Agent Coder, and it's really, I think he, you know, really worked hard to keep his composure, to keep his tone, and keep saying all of those positive things to help Chris feel more relaxed.
So when she asked you, do you know where they are, or are you going to tell the truth about where they are, you failed miserably.
Okay.
Why?
I'm a nervous person. Like every question I asked, every question, it felt like I wouldn't say the right thing.
That's not how the polygraph works.
I don't know like what it reads like through. I know she was saying about autonomy of the process, but like I don't know where they're at.
Chris, right now your dad's outside. He flew across the country to help you. Okay? You're lying to him. You're lied to everyone you talk to. And they all bought it. Will you please help us find your babies?
I want to find them. I've told you over and over, I want to find everyone.
Can we go back to that night?
Yeah.
You know that we have texts, and we know that there's an Alexa in your house,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that those are trained to record distress.
Okay.
You know that we know the content of Nikki's text messages and your text messages and Shanann's text messages. Okay?
I didn't know you were Nikki was until tonight, right now, so.
Okay. Tell us about that night again, and please tell the truth this time.
I told you the truth. I promise I've told you the truth. Like, we woke up at 4 o'clock. I woke up at 4 o'clock. Got dressed, got ready. 4:15, me and Shanann talked. About the house, about separation.
Did you guys talk about Nikki?
She accused me of like, all right, you know, is there somebody else?
Sure.
I didn't say it.
You denied it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she brought up like, you know, like, well, was there a $68 charge on dinner the other night?
Okay.
Was there two of you?
And that was with two of you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Nikki.
Okay. So it sounds like at that time there was maybe you weren't quite ready to just say,
I
man, this is everything.
I couldn't say it.
Okay.
We were already crying hard enough. I couldn't say that.
Okay. What did you say?
I just told her, like, this separation has to go. I want separation.
Okay. Was it her idea to sell the house or yours?
She initiated the realtor the week before in an email.
Why?
Because we were talking about the marital issues. She's like, well, you can't afford to live on her own. Well, she can't afford to live on her own, I can't afford to live on my own. So she's like, we need to just contact Van and see.
And who'd you contact?
Well, she contacted Ann, our realtor.
Ann?
Yeah.
Okay. Would Ann say the same thing, that your wife initiated the contact?
Yeah.
Okay.
She would. And then on Monday, I texted her to see if what she could do.
Okay.
And that's in there too. You probably already knew that.
Tell me about the pregnancy. Was that your idea or hers?
She said she was about 80-20. Well, when we did the pros and cons of it, like after she got pregnant, she told everybody that it was mainly my idea.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Crafted, you missed that. But I think that's what, I used to think it was Tammy that got the confession, but I think it was like the take a deep breath, relax. That really is what got the ball rolling. Coder is doing all of the work. It doesn't look like it, but he really is. Everything he says is strategically said.
I wanted a boy.
Did you want to get pregnant?
Hmm?
Okay.
And then after the fact, she said it was mainly me that wanted it, and she was about, she was 70-30 against it at that point. Like, she would tell her friends that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what, 70-30 against it? Like, why?
Okay. Can you understand that some of this just doesn't make sense to us? Okay.
When you listen to Coder talk, like say Chris is starting to get agitated, listen to how he lowers his voice and talks a little bit slower. And then Chris mimics that a little bit. He calms back down. It's all strategic. It really is.
How is it possible that a woman and 2 kids are just completely gone off the face of the earth?
I promise you, I have nothing on my hands I did nothing to those kids or her to make them vanish.
So tell me what happened then. I believe you that you did nothing on your hands. What happened?
When I left, I mean, it's on video that I left and I was in my truck. I didn't load anything into my truck besides my tools, my container, my book bag, my water jug, my lunchbox.
Okay. But then what happened?
I drove out of the driveway.
No, before you drove out of the driveway. What happened with your wife and your kids?
I didn't do anything like that. They were still in the house.
Where are they? Where did they go?
I don't know, sir. I really don't know.
Your wife's not the type of person to vanish.
I know she's not.
She had 10 things on her schedule that meant she was going to be there the next day, that day, the day after that, with friends, with a doctor. Okay? She didn't leave because she wanted to.
Right.
So what happened?
I didn't do anything to her or the kids.
Was it an accident?
I didn't do anything.
Was it an accident?
There was no accident. I don't know if there was an accident in the house. I wasn't there for it.
It's a big deal if it's an accident, because we can work with that, Chris.
No.
And I think that's maybe what happened.
I did not cause an accident. I didn't do anything to my wife and kids.
Was it a misunderstanding?
There's no misunderstanding. Like, we had that talk. There was a misunderstanding where I didn't tell her about the affair.
Okay.
I didn't. That
Okay.
was the misunderstanding.
Like miscommunication,
Yeah,
misunderstanding?
yeah.
Good.
But I probably should have told her right then, honestly. I mean, everything was out on the table anyways.
Right.
I should have just told her right then. But I didn't, because I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
What was your plan? What were you going to do? I mean, how was the separation going to work?
Like, once we got separated, I would get my own place, and then 50-50 split with the kids, that's what I was hoping.
Mm-hmm. What about Nikki?
Take it slow and just see if anything develops, like when I'm, having.
What about Nikki? I like how coders, well, let's talk about the plan. What were you going to do? Um, it's really, really good.
Wrong place. Okay.
I just find it hard to hear you talk about just having this emotional, conversation with Shanann, and you're bawling and crying together, and you have not shed one tear in 2 days that you've been here.
Not once.
Not one. And help me understand that, because I don't get it.
See, she's being accusatory, the exact opposite of Agent Coder, right? So when we see good cop, bad cop in TV, there's always the aggressive one who's like slamming their hands down on the table, and then he walks out of the room, and then the good cop comes in, he's his buddy. That's kind of happening all at the same time while they're both in the same room. Everything she says is accusatory and aggressive. And Agent Coder is like saying, "Oh, I believe you. I believe there was nothing on your hands." He had to add that part in there, but he says, "I believe you." So I don't know if in Chris's mind, he's thinking, I'm going to get through this, or what Chris is thinking, but he is gradually telling the truth, like slowly but surely. And I think Tammy chiming in right there was also strategic, because he gets defensive, and, he wants to go back to the quiet conversation, where everything's good again.
These are your baby girls, and you have not shed one tear over them not being around. Chris, I lose my 4-year-old in the store for 10 seconds, and I start to go panic. I have not seen any of that from you at all. Help me understand that.
I love those girls. I would never do any just because I haven't shed a tear. You get
Yeah, no, that's weird. Is that weird?
Sounds like he's trying to start crying now, if you ask me. The way he's talking, he's trying to shed a tear.
Don't look into
Did he just sniffle? Did you hear that?
that like I don't love my kids.
Well,
I love my wife.
explain to me. You're crying with your wife that you're leaving her,
Yeah.
but you don't cry that your 2 little baby girls.
I'm hoping they're still around. I'm hoping they're still somewhere.
Yeah, but you
alive.
don't have them right now. You're not reading stories to them at night.
I know.
You're not giving them midnight snacks. You're not giving them their...
See, this is the exact opposite of what Agent Coder said just a few minutes ago. You know what you read your kids, what book you read to your kids last night. You know how to pack a lunch. You know how to do all these things. You're great at all of these things. She's saying the exact opposite. And he's getting really offended. They are breaking him down. And it's actually pretty good coordination between them.
medicine. You're not waking up with them in the morning.
I know this.
So that should cause you pain.
It does cause me pain.
But I don't see that. I don't see that. I want to see the Chris that cares. I want to see the Chris that, feels bad about what he did and wants to, get this off his chest and be done with this. And let us find your little girls so that they're not out there in the middle of a field or whatever somewhere. Don't do that.
I love those girls to death.
Then show us that. Show us that. Show us this Chris, not this Chris.
I'm not showing you that Chris. I'm showing you the Chris that cares about his girls and his wife. Just because I haven't shed a tear, it shouldn't make you feel like that the love isn't there for them.
It's weird. It doesn't make sense to me.
I understand that.
You have to...
I totally see where you're coming from. Trust me, there's nothing... just because
Chris, people can be pushed to the point where they do something that they regret. It happens every single day.
I know.
But part of what makes you a man is the guy that goes, I really fucked up, but this is what I did, and I'm going to pay for what I did, and I'm going to tell you what I did, and I'm going to be honest about it.
Chris, we can keep talking to you once we find these girls, okay? So once we find these girls and your wife, right, no matter how we find them, no matter what condition they're in, We can keep talking to you, and you can tell us, guys, it's not as bad as it looks. And you can say, let me tell you what happened. I was never comfortable with you, Graham, or with you, Tam. No, I wasn't comfortable yet, but now that everything's known, now that the girls are found and Shanann's found, however they're found, it's okay. We can keep talking to you. Okay?
Chris, did Shanann do something to them?
No, I don't know.
I'm serious.
I have no clue.
No, you would have known, because they didn't leave the house.
Like, when,
Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
No, they were at the house when I left. They were there.
They weren't there. They didn't leave. They vanished.
They were
The
there.
only way they could have left is in your truck.
There's no way, because, like, I didn't just throw them in my truck.
You know, I don't think Chris Watts thought about that. How did the family leave the house? They got like camera footage everywhere of him coming and going, right? But they know that Shanann and the kids aren't in the house. But they also could watch that same footage and see that they never left the house. Like there's nothing on camera anywhere showing them leave. So they aren't lying now. They know that they never left the house. I imagine they watched the footage and they never saw them actually leave. So they probably had some evidence that he did something to them.
You know your truck is GPS,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you told your boss, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going through separation, I'm maybe staying
Yeah.
at a friend's house, whatever. You know that thing pings every 10 seconds?
Yep.
So we will know
You can't turn
exactly
it off.
I know.
And
where
your-
you went.
And your company's giving that to us.
I know.
Okay. Are we not asking the right questions, Chris?
You're asking all the questions.
What are we not asking you right? What are we doing wrong?
You're not doing anything wrong.
Did Shanann do something?
I think she did anything to these kids. We both love them with all our hearts. There's no way.
It could have been an accident. Something happened in the house that you know about. You failed the polygraph test, Chris. This is not about, did you leave and your wife vanished and you didn't know anything about it. That was not what you were asked, okay?
Okay.
We know that something happened to all three of them. But I want to know, did something happen to these baby girls first that you had to take into your own hands and deal with?
You had to clean it up for Shanann.
See, they're putting that lie into his head. You know, they're giving him an out, a way to confess without confessing. It's also pretty strategic, I think. But, you know, as we're talking about, you know, the time travel thing, you know, that's kind of funny. To use a time portal, they traveled in time. They know what happened because of that. But this is like 2 days after the family actually went missing. So they actually had time to get some of the security footage from the neighbors. They would have known that Shanann never came out of that house visibly. And that would be very hard to not be seen unless somebody was trying to prevent you from, you know, from themselves being on the camera, or somebody else was hiding them in a sheet and carrying them into their back of their truck through the garage, where he parked really close to the back, to that garage door, which apparently was not normal for him.
Chris, you gotta tell us. There's something that happened to these baby girls. Look at them.
I know. Before you came in, I was watching videos.
We have no doubt you love these girls.
Before you came in, I was watching their videos. What the heck is he thinking he's proving by saying that? I don't get it. I can't believe somebody would plan this and then be so ridiculously dumb about all of this.
With all of your heart. I have no doubt. But we make mistakes.
And that's okay.
It's what we do with those mistakes that make us who we are.
Chris, it seems like you're thinking about it right now. What are you thinking about?
She couldn't have.
I feel like you cleaned up for her. I feel like that's the type of guy that you are. Which one of these has the breathing thing?
Well, they both have inhalers, but Cece has the EOE. Encephalitis esophagitis.
Did she have problems breathing?
And only like with her allergies and whatnot, like if she had anything next, but she had one with the endoscopies and everything and the surgeries I told you about.
Do you think she had trouble breathing that night? And Shanann freaked out? And didn't want to live without her baby girl?
I don't think so.
Did you hear about the homicide that happened in Aurora, where the guy beat that family to death with a ball-peen hammer?
Mm-hmm.
The only person that survived was a 3-year-old sibling. And that sibling grew up to be a total mess. No family, no mom and dad, no brother or sister, just her by herself. She says, I wish I would have died with them. And there are times that people freak out. I've seen it. I mean, I've been in law enforcement for almost 20 years. I've seen it. Parents freak out and they're like, oh my God, like, I can't have my baby girls live without each other. They're best friends. They're like twins. They're, you know, they wake each other up.
Does anybody know what case she's actually talking about? Because I don't remember hearing this before. But it's weird how you see her changing the narrative too. So now all of a sudden they're not talking about Chris anymore. And she's telling him how horrible it is um, that this family was murdered and one survived, but she survived without her sibling. And that's terrible. Trying to make him feel guilty for what he did. And it works, but it's just interesting the way they talk about this.
In the morning. And I understand that. We had a mom in Castle Rock that suffocated both her baby girls. She's like, my husband was going to take them, and she's like, I just couldn't handle. I thought I was doing right by them. I thought I was saving them pain. And I get it.
Why?
You know, there's several types of family annihilators, and one of them is they murder their family to save them from a life of torment, like she just described. That's what family annihilators do. Sometimes it's how they justify it in their heads. So they're like, I don't want my kids to grow up without being financially stable. I've lost my job. If you think about John List, he lost his job. He couldn't continue living in the same house that he had for years. You know, he was about to go bankrupt, and one of his daughters was about to move to Hollywood to become an actress or try to be. And he thought that was a sin. And so he killed them all to save them. And it's kind of a common theme with family annihilators.
Oh, she's saving the pain.
She didn't want them to have to live without their mom.
Chris, this is a weight that's going to be on you for the rest of your life until we resolve it tonight. Unless we can talk about this more tonight, this is going to follow you forever. I promise you, when you start talking to us, you will feel better. I know you already feel better about getting the Nikki off your chest.
Please don't like involve her in the news or anything like that. She can't do that.
You got to help me.
I know.
Chris, we're giving you a lifeline right now. You need to take it. You need to reach out and take it.
Did they look like this the last night you were with them?
She had that dress on, like, on the 8th or 9th. It wasn't this, but she had that dress on. 'Cause I remember I had 2 buttons on the back. I'd take them off so I could get her pajamas on that night.
Did you guys make sure that they were warm when they left the house?
Make sure they were warm. They're always warm. They always have, when they're in their beds, they're always warm.
Okay. Were you guys taking care of them at the very end?
They're always taken care of. They never miss a meal.
Chris, you took them out of the house with their blankets and their animals. Like, that's because you cared. That's what a caring dad does.
I mean, I'm always caring for these kids. There's nothing in this or my life.
I believe that. I believe that, and I believe someone made a mistake, whether it was you or Shanann. And you either cleaned up after Shanann or you made the mistake, and I mean, I want to believe that maybe Shanann did it and you felt compelled to fix this so Shanann didn't look bad. That's what I want to believe. But I don't know, you're not telling me that, so it makes me think the worst. Like, did you
I did not do anything.
all 3 of them?
I did
Like,
not do anything to these kids. Not do anything.
what did Shanann do to them? Tell us, Chris. Chicks are crazy.
Can I go talk to my dad or something?
Absolutely.
Come.
Do you want to bring him in here?
No, I just need to talk to my dad. Like, flew across the country.
Hey, Chris, how about this? If we brought your dad in here, would you please tell him what happened?
Can I just go talk to him? I've been in here for like 5 or 6 hours, and I'm like,
Absolutely. Chris, look at me, man. It's not going to feel any better. He deserves an answer.
It's your best friend.
He finally got those tears out, I see. So probably not very good ones.
There's only one person you wanted here most, and it's your dad.
good.
What would you tell him?
I love him, and I just want him to be by my side.
Okay. He knows more than we do that you're a good man. And he knows.
You know, why did they let Nicole Kessinger's dad in there so easy when Chris has asked several times and they're like, no.
As much as you want to protect your wife, Shanann, I think he would tell you to do the right thing. Before we get him,
Can I go out there and talk to him?
well, I don't know that you want to do it out there because there's a lot of people going through the halls. Should we bring him in here?
We'll step out. Okay?
Can you 2 minutes with him?
Okay.
Okay. Can we just ask a couple more questions? It seems like you're about to get it off your chest.
This is some kind of emotional purging. You know, he feels deeply guilty. I guarantee you. He knows he did it, obviously. He feels guilty. They're pushing him to let it out, to purge himself from that guilt. And it works. It's kind of, just to play devil's advocate here, it's like, get an attorney. Why are you confessing? Why are you in there alone? But maybe he is in there, like Tammy said, telling them things, taking the lie detector test because he wants them to know, because he wants to confess. He's just afraid to.
Is there any way that you can help us understand more about Shanann and why maybe something happened?
Also, notice how Agent Coder is now closer. He knows he's about to get a confession. He scooted that notebook out of the way. He scooted a little bit closer. He's leaning forward now. He's talking even a little bit faster.
So that we don't get a bad picture about her. And what I mean is, what happened that night with her?
As far as like after I talked to her,
With the girls?
like when we were having that conversation in bed there,
Mm-hmm.
like when I talked to her about the separation and the house, and she asked me about the affair, and
Okay.
that's how that conversation went.
Okay.
She was distraught. She had like mascara running down her face, all that. I mean, it was emotional.
Well, how about this? If we bring in your dad, will you promise me that you'll talk to him?
I'll talk to him.
Okay.
You know, I'm kind of thinking of like a fisherman who's got a fish on the hook and they got to, angle the pole a certain way, let the fish back out. Agent Coder just scooted back a little bit and he says, well, wait. What if we do let your dad in? He's given him a little bit of slack. He was in his face a second ago. He scooted back a few inches, but it probably is part of the game. He is, he's trying to wear Chris out, just the same way a fisherman wears out a fish. I think it's really crazy to see.
Will you promise me that you'll tell him everything? Would it be easier if you told him and he told us?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if that's going to be easy or not. I tend to think it's not. I think you're the type of guy that needs to take responsibility because you always have taken responsibility. You've always made the right choice. So,
See, he's going back to the compliments. He's giving slack right now. The pressure was on a second ago. It almost broke Chris. He wanted to leave the room, and I think you guys are right. Somebody said, I don't remember where I saw it, but somebody said that Chris was about to run if he went out there and talked to his dad. Yeah, it looks like it was Gerald's 2 cents. Yeah, he was going to run if they let him to go out and talk to his dad. Yeah, it's like both amazing to watch this happen. It's also like makes me kind of like I have mixed feelings about this because they're really violating this guy's rights as an American citizen, but because he is a murderer, I don't really care. You know what I mean? They could have got this confession thrown out, I think, but the way that they get the confession is really interesting.
I guess I'm just worried that if we bring your dad in here, that could distract you. What do you think?
Distract me from like talking to you.
Yeah.
I just need to talk to him.
Okay. All right. I know you'll do the right thing. I do. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think that you need to think a little bit more about that. Okay?
And you need to realize that your dad is not going to stop loving you no matter what you tell him. You are his child, and he will not stop loving you.
Never.
Ever.
And this is not the last chapter in anyone's story. At all. Okay? He's been here the whole time. He didn't want to leave you.
And that's all we got for tonight. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to let this play a little more, but I do need to get going, guys. I just thought it'd be funny to tease you, let you think I was about to end the live stream, but well, I'll let it play for a few more minutes.
Have you ever seen sometimes when an animal's owner dies, they stick around forever? I think that's your dad. today, okay? So, keep that in mind. He wants to hear it all. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that clock is very loud. All they need is like a spotlight dangling from the ceiling, kind of swaying back and forth. It'd be like an old, crime show from the 60s. What do you guys think he's thinking about right there? It looks like he's staring at the picture of his daughters. But he could have his eyes closed. He could be wishing this was all a dream. Has anybody been checking how long he's actually being set? Like, what's the time frame that he's actually setting there? Like, if I'd have thought about this a few minutes ago, I would have started timing it to see how long he actually sat there. You get a text from Nicole, right? Hey, Chris, make sure you delete everything on your phone. And don't tell them anything about me. That's probably what those messages were.
Hey, Chris, we're gonna let you have however much time you need, okay?
Okay. You gonna leave us in there or no?
Yes.
Okay.
How does he not know this is still being recorded? Like, anybody who's watched TV knows this stuff.
And it's, polygraph. Failed it. Yeah, because there's too much emotions. So, I mean, they're not gonna let me go. Is there any reason why they shouldn't? Well, it's not they know I had an affair. And they know. I can't complain about that. Anybody had an affair?
I think Ronnie knew. He didn't want to admit it, but I think he knew. I think anybody is going to wonder, well, did he actually do something? You know, he's been thinking about it, even if he hadn't, actually thought it out loud and said, Chris may have done something to Shanann and the kids.
Anything else you want to tell me? What's going on, or what happened, or anything? Or you know anything about?
I had to increase my volume a lot on my TV here to hear what he's saying too, just so you know.
When we had that conversation that morning, it was emotional. It was told her about separation and everything like that. Mm-hmm. What happened after that? I went downstairs and I don't want to protect her. What? I don't want to protect her. You don't want to protect her? I don't know what else to say. What happened? Huh? She hurt him? Yeah. And then I freaked out. Well, no, I freaked out and I hurt her. You hurt her? Did they leave after that for a long time? So she started hurting the kids. Ever.
I got to show everybody. So yeah, that's just a joke that I made Chet Nightbot say that. But I figured out how to turn it off. I know I can turn it off. That one's going to pop up every minute for like the next 5 or 6 minutes.
You smell it? Or choking? No. I didn't hear anything. When I was downstairs, they came back up and they were gone. I don't know, like me talking to her about that. Talking to her about separation and everything, about like she lost it. I don't know like what else to say, like I freaked out.
I can barely hear what they're saying. I got my speakers up pretty loud. I don't want the microphone to start like giving you guys feedback or something, but I'm gonna rewind it a couple of seconds. See if we can hear that.
One, do you smell it? Or choking?
I didn't hear anything. When I was downstairs, I came back up and they were gone.
Yeah, he says, I didn't hear anything. I went downstairs and I came back up and they were gone.
I don't know, like me talking to her about that. Talking to her about separation and everything, about like she lost it. I don't know like what else to say, like I freaked out. Those are my kids.
So she, it's not that one time, you were leaving the place and going to work.
Mm-hmm.
She freaked out over the separation every time.
Like she laid back down, but that's when I went downstairs, but I heard like a little commotion upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it.
Mm-hmm. And then you went back upstairs and she was...
Never, I could see like she was on that position.
What, choking her or... Did she kill her?
They were blue.
Both of them?
Yeah.
She choked both of them to death.
I freaked out.
When he says they were blue, I think that's the first phrase I've heard him say that doesn't sound like a lie. I think he saw them blue because he strangled them or smothered them.
How was it though? I couldn't like call the cops about it.
I've never heard that they woke back up, Crafted. That's a scary thought. That's a terrifying thought. They didn't just get strangled to death once, but maybe more than once. That's even worse than...
So then would you be all the bodies off or something?
I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I freaked out. I didn't know nothing else to do. I didn't know what.
In the second interview, I think he has had more time to rehearse what he's going to say. And I think as the things come out, I can tell there's a lot of lies, but every once in a while you can hear some bit of truth. And I think, you know, he is telling the truth. Just you have to really piece everything together to hear the whole truth.
So she killed both CC and Bill, choked them to death. You lost it in the choke her or...
Mm-hmm. That's just rage. I hadn't.
You guys tried out the voice layer analysis on Chris's confession. That's interesting because, from the February 2019 interview, he sounds completely different. He's actually had time to think about all of this stuff and how he's going to tell this story, how he's going to frame everything. And if he would have done this on any other day, I think maybe he would have had a week or two and he would have been able to, you know, fake all of this and fool everyone.
Like, in her heart, I know she knew about the affair. She just was waiting for me to say something and for me to deny it again. I think she just lost it. That's when she went off and told her about it. And that's when the crying, like, happened. And
Hey, Alicia, thanks for stopping by. I would say watch the replay, but there's probably a good chance that this one will get flagged tomorrow too, and then it'll disappear off of my channel, like the one from yesterday did. But I'm just doing it because it's fun to hang out with you guys. So
that's what happened. She almost didn't let me told her about her confirm when he had an affair. I didn't tell her how long, she just knew. She just knew. I could deny it all I want, she just knew. Saying that she killed both over such a separation over the affair. To say her alone, I think she just knew, like, the affair was happening, but I just denied it. Don't you told her before that about separation? But, you know, she was hoping we'd go to counseling or something. I didn't like the counseling. She lost it. And another separation. Did she break up the affair that morning too? She carrying babies.
saying also would want separation.
Pretty much knowing the affair was going on, but we just profusely denying it.
I never did. I had told her, but she more or less knew something was going on. She actually killed both her children.
I'm having a really hard time hearing what they're saying. I think I could probably mess with the audio too and try to filter out some of the static, but the louder it gets, the more staticky it gets, so I can't hear them.
And you snapped. Yeah, you find a lawyer.
I kind of agree with you, Spare Time.
Make it rage. Snap kill them.
What's that?
Morning.
Is it okay? I'm here.
They're like, we heard everything. We know you're a killer now for sure. That lie detector test that we told you was like proof, that wasn't really proof, but this is really proof.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, your name is Tim.
And you know, why isn't Ronnie saying, hey, we need to get an attorney? I think I heard him say, it's better just to tell them. But I don't know why he's not saying, let's get an attorney right away.
Could you help us work through this with you, okay? Will you tell us what you told your dad?
What's the word for people who are attracted to people who commit crimes? Hypergamy or something like that. I can't remember.
After that conversation,
Take water up there, something.
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
After that conversation we had, and she accused me of the affair, and she, in her heart, she knew what was going on. And she knew about the dinner the other night. It was too much for just...
If you watch Tammy this whole time, she is always in Chris's space. Like I think Torres is right there. She is trying to make him feel uncomfortable. I also remember, I think I saw her say how she felt disgusted, talking to him this way. But I don't know. I think it's all part of her plan. She's in his space. She's leaning forward. When she's sitting where Ronnie's sitting, she's leaning forward, kind of getting into Chris's comfort zone while Coder is sitting back, lean back, far away, kind of giving him space. Right now, she's basically sitting in his lap. She is in his space. She's intending to make him uncomfortable.
me.
Can you follow now?
When I told her I went to a Rockies game, I went out to bed. I went downstairs.
And that's when you told her about your separation.
Well, that was when I was upstairs in bed. And told her, what I wanted, and Nicole wanted separation. And that's what I want.
I have enough time.
I went downstairs and started packing up a few things. And I heard a couple things upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it. I continued to just, own thing and get ready to get everything packed up.
Next.
I went upstairs and I was going to talk to her again.
I could see you. Writing down the rabbit hole. I can see your messages. I don't think Nightbot is still here. I deleted everything on there finally. It was really easy.
I saw on the monitor, fella's covers were like pulled off and she was just laying there. She was just hot. Cycled over to CC. She was in there with her. On top of her. Choking her. Freaked out. I ran in there and got on top of her.
What'd you do?
She blew.
See you later, Crafted. Thanks for hanging out.
Those are my babies.
You know, Gerald, that's a really interesting thought. I never thought of this before. But, you know, the woman is the aggressive person in his life. I mean, think about it. His mother's kind of the same way. His wife's kind of that way. And, you know, I never noticed that before. That's a really good insight.
Those are my kids.
What happened?
Something hurt.
Who was she in? Where were you at?
Right there. I put it back in our bed. Sure.
And you were bed? What happened next?
I don't know what to do.
Torres, when you watch the beginning, Tammy is everything but coddling. She is aggressive. She is making accusations. She is the bad cop in this scenario. But I think now that Gerald mentioned that, I can't see it any other way. Chris is dominated by women, so they use Tammy to dominate and put pressure on him. But she was the aggressive one this entire time. I wonder how much of that was actually planned, based off of what they probably pulled off of, because this is 2 days after everything happened. So they probably pulled everything off of Shanann's phone already and was able to go through a lot of it. I don't know what other evidence they have. I saw Chris with his phone, so I don't think they pulled information off of his phone yet, but they've got to have some kind of idea to make this happen. I mean, I don't know why I never thought of that before, but
I have no idea what to do. I'm shaking. Both my kids are blue and they're gone. I'm just like blind, just, I'm not that person, like, I'm just like, she hurt my kids. Like I had to do the same thing to her.
What happened after she was in your bed?
And there, I didn't know what to do. She's back and covered her up. So I couldn't see, I couldn't look at her. kids. See what she did. Didn't know what to do. Where are they now? To find your babies. Did the hard part. All you have left is to tell us where they're at.
We can help you get them out of the cold.
They're gone. There's no bringing them back.
Well, where are they?
Not that first location I went to that day.
Where at?
That's every 319.
Where at? That location.
Right there off the site. Right there.
How did you pick?
And see, I think at this time when he's actually explaining this, they're actually flying drones over this place already. They already are looking there.
that site?
First site I was supposed to take them there.
So where would we find them there?
I didn't know what to do.
I know.
I didn't know what to fucking do. Like none of this makes
You know, Gerald, now here's another thing that I'll never ever be able to not think about. You're right, she's playing the, that's kind of creepy. The dominant female and the giggly bimbo, like I immediately think of Nicole Kessinger as giggly, hey, just thinking about you kind of thing, with that weird giggle.
sense. Why would she hit my fucking girls?
So Chris, are they in something? Are they under the ground? Like, where would you find them? You take us out there?
There's no way I want to go out there. I mean, I will if you want me to. I don't want to go.
What if you and me and your dad just drove by and you could just say, right there, we could help you just get him out of the cold, take care of him for the last time.
Chris really is a terrible actor, but Agent Coder is a great actor. He is still telling Chris everything's going to be okay. We'll just go do this one thing and everything's going to be okay. He's still doing that same thing that he's done the entire time. But, also, I think he's also controlling. Everyone's got their hand on their face. And I think it started with Agent Coder when he did it. He leaned on his chin a little bit, then everyone else did too. He has this way of getting people to do what he wants. It might be a superpower.
I'm sorry.
I know you are.
I know you are. I know you came in today to do the right thing. You didn't have to come in. You came in all on your own.
I don't think those are real sobs. His shoulders are not moving at all. I don't even think he feels guilty about this.
don't think anything less.
Huh?
Just please don't think anything less than talking about that.
Are they all free out there, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
What was she doing to CC?
She's just on top of her. My hands around.
Hands around what?
I don't know if you guys can hear, but his voice changes whenever he's lying. Like it's a little bit higher pitch. It's like he's trying to emphasize a feeling in his voice that doesn't come out correctly. I don't know if I'm like the only one that can hear it, but I definitely I can hear it.
Like,
You saw it?
I saw it on the monitor.
Okay.
And that's why I ran in there.
What'd she say?
They were off and saw CC was sorry blue. It's not moving. And just that blind rage, I just did the same thing to her.
Did you ever go into Bella's room?
Just pushing it back in, that's no, when I saw her on the monitor, the way she was laying, the bed just sprawled out.
Is that when you packed up their special stuff? So where'd you put them? Get them out there.
In the truck.
Which part?
Driver's side rear.
In the passenger compartment?
Driver's side rear. Right behind my seat.
What were you thinking on the way out there?
There's, and the babies are gone. And I put my hands around my wife's neck and did that same thing.
Did Shanann fight back at all when you did that?
The rage that I had after seeing that, not much.
How do you know Shanann was dead?
Smooth.
What did he say? I just knew. I can't really hear what he said. I know she asked, how did you know Shanann was dead? But I couldn't tell what he said there.
Seems like real quick, we look on her Facebook page, like 2 days ago, they had this like 4 or 5 foot long baby doll. She had it laying on the couch with a sheet over it.
She ended?
Yeah. Before any of this happened.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So I'm thinking that's not a thing. I don't know.
That's a very good point.
I think Chris's voice kind of goes up when he's lying. So he talked about how he strangled his wife, and there's like this lower tone in his voice. But then he said, when I saw her like that, his voice kind of goes up because I think that's a lie. He's still trying to convince them that he did this as a reaction, not out of, hatred.
I can't see it now, but I'm blocked on hers. If you look on her Facebook page.
What did it say, or what was the
It
caption?
said, what do you say to this? Something similar to that. And a tall baby doll about that tall was laying on one of her couches and had a sheet over it, across the head, all the way up, you can see his feet hanging out. Saying like Bella had done that. The kid won't do that.
Do you remember that, Chris? What do you think?
Just make fun of it.
Did Bella do it?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't guess enough, I don't think she would do something like that. You know, she would have their dolls and stuff out on the floor and just covering up waste and stuff and do something like that, but then
Okay.
covering her head and everything else like
Because what?
a body laying there or something.
It sounds like kind of,
I'm sorry I lied to you.
Commander.
I mean, you knew what was gonna happen.
You stayed for a reason.
Chris, you're a good man.
I'm not a good man.
Well, you stayed, you wanted to talk, even if it was going to be hard, and you still stayed. That's what a good man does.
The Agent Coder is still boosting his ego. You're a good man, Chris. You're doing this bit for good reasons.
Stayed there for 6 hours and 11 minutes before.
Also, I finally fired chat. What was it? What was it called? Nightbot. Yeah. I thought I deleted all the comments or all of the timer things on that, but apparently it still had control over too many emojis or something. So I'm going to use something else in the future.
I can stare you in the face.
We're glad you did.
I can see when the rage would come out and see a bunch of kids dead.
You don't know. You don't know when you look at you come out and see a move.
I told you your dad still loves you, no matter what.
See, I wonder if they actually believe that Shanann might have done something. You can tell the father definitely believes it. But I don't know if they did. I don't think they bought it at all. Because I don't know, he just sounds different when he talks about things that I think he actually did and saw and felt. And then, whenever he tries to blame it on Shanann, his voice changes just slightly. It goes up an octave or a half an octave or something. And something's off about it.
Could you let someone kiss the body?
Get through this now.
Hey, Chris.
Nothing will ever be the same again.
When you came in, was your wife on top of her right when you came in? So you saw it in person?
Because I saw the monitor, that's why I rushed in. So I went in there to talk to her again.
And when you came in, she was right there on top
She
of
was
her?
right there.
Okay.
One of her hands on her throat.
She didn't know what to do.
Were you trying to save Cece?
Hard blew in her face. She wasn't moving. Her head spinning over left like that.
See, I think he actually saw that because the way he says it, it's so real. I don't think he's lying right there.
So where did you put them out there? Chris, that's really important.
See, I think Ronnie and Cindy still believe this is real. And that might be why Cindy ended up saying all the things she said. And, nobody likes her because of it. But I've also been wondering since I've been watching this again is what happened whenever Ronnie got home? He got berated. Why didn't you make him get an attorney right then and there? But there's two grown men in this room who never said anything about an attorney. I'm gonna have to watch that oxygen interview. I don't think I've actually watched all of it. I saw a couple of clips.
Down in
Probably.
something, or like under something, in something.
I didn't know what else to do.
I know, so tell me what you did. I know,
I didn't know what else to do. I was so scared.
I know.
It's like, my wife just did this, and I just did that. What do I do?
Right.
Yeah, I think
Anything that I would do from there was
this
just going to
isn't
be
that
just
much. This is not
insensitive
all.
and just a horrible thing.
You were in a tough spot. I mean, what can you do, right?
Sometimes your body just kind of takes
I-
over and... I'm looking over down here.
Well, it definitely works. There's something about confessing that makes you want to keep confessing. Once you get a little bit out,
Can you show us?
the rest just follows.
What's going to happen?
We're gonna have
You're
to
going to
get out.
jail. That's what's going to happen.
Do you,
Like, what?
would you prefer that when you're one of your coworkers?
Oh my God, no, no, no.
Okay.
I can't have that.
Wait. What did you just say about the coworkers? I missed it. I'm not gonna rewind it.
We're afraid something.
You said that you're about to become a good man. They're going to see this. You're like, what the fuck did you do, Chris? Like, what? Like, why didn't you just go to college to begin with?
Well, they weren't in your shoes, they don't know.
I know.
They weren't living your life.
I know, but still, it's like...
Gerald, I think this is what you were talking about earlier, right? About his when he seems more upset that his coworkers are going to see him as a monster than his own family's death. Yeah.
People are
I
gonna
can
judge
never,
you
like...
We'll just go little steps at a time. How about that?
I can't have anybody show you out there, anybody, no coworkers, please.
Okay.
I mean, they're just going to form their own opinions anyways once they figure everything out anyway.
We'll just take little steps tonight then. How about that?
Yeah, do you have to have any of them with you?
No?
No, we prefer you.
Can you and me and Tammy and Ronnie get in the car and just drive out there?
Just point in general direction.
You just point?
Take it from there.
Chris, I know they're gone, but they're still your babies, and you're still their dad.
And you don't want them out
I
there.
don't want them out there.
And you don't want someone else to find them out there. You don't, I promise you.
I almost think it would be better if he did kill everyone at his house, that those daughters of his didn't have to ride in the car, his truck, for 45 minutes with their mother's corpse. It's a horrifying thought. It's really the hardest part of this entire story is those kids understanding. Once you think about the children, they trust everyone. They even strangers, they trust a little bit, but they always go to their parents to find out if it's okay to trust them. Your parents are the one person that is absolutely, you're the one person you can trust. I don't think they understood what was happening at all.
You give us a second so we can kind of get some things arranged. Do that?
Ronnie, do you mind staying in here with him? Okay.
All right, guys, I think this is going to be where I end it. this has probably been my longest live stream ever. It started off on a much less interesting topic, but but yeah, I I don't know. I've never watched this interview in this way. Like every time I've watched it before, I'm always like, I start with the lie detector part whenever they start, talking about let's do the lie detector. And I never get past the way that they say, oh, we know, you definitely did it. We know without a doubt that you actually did it. And Chris believes it. He doesn't question it. And it's always been hard for me to watch that. But then, as I've, learned more about this case, and I've realized that, it's actually a good thing that they were able to get a confession, and that if he wouldn't have taken that plea deal, it may have come back and bit them in the butt. But they got a confession, and it worked, and it is very strategic. You could see the strategy here. And I think when somebody mentioned, that Tammy's playing the part of the female bully in Chris's life, it even makes it even clearer how strategically done this was. But I honestly think that confession could have been thrown out with the right attorney and the right judge. Lie detector tests aren't admissible usually. They're only like 50% accurate. They're just not that great of a tool unless you think of it in the way of getting the confession. Once you get a confession, the confessor wants to continue confessing. There's like this big flood of relief that comes flying through them, and it feels good to get it off their chest. And I think that's what they were going for. They know this, and that's what their entire plan was. I don't know how they got all of this without Chris demanding an attorney. It doesn't compute in my brain. I think anybody who's ever watched TV knows, you always ask for an attorney. You don't believe what they're telling you. It's just crazy. But I know a lot of people seem to think that maybe the children were actually murdered before he took them out to the work site. I believe that they weren't, and it's based off of the next confession that he does, where he tells people that he killed his wife, and then he loaded up her body in the truck, and then brought his girls with him, and then drove out to the work site, and then smothered both of his girls one at a time. I believe that because it seems like it doesn't make him look better. Everything he says is like something to make him look a certain way. How he was so offended. He was so upset when he realized that his coworkers weren't going to see him as the good guy anymore. Like, this is something that's true in a lot of family annihilators. They have this image of themselves that they project. And when that becomes like, if that comes into question, that's one of those red flag stressors that happen that cause people to murder their family. The other one is the financial stress, the marital stress. They're having problems, they're having a baby, and Chris has got a girlfriend. Those are all the things combined. But that last one, the one about his like personal image, is like, that is the most important factor, I think, compared to everything else. Once he's trying to protect an image, and I think that's why he makes up the story though that he does. And I know Tammy gave him the idea, but I don't know if maybe she didn't believe him, but I think part of her probably still wanted to believe that that's actually what happened, that she killed the children and then he killed her. But it's a really tragic story, and there's no good way to like put this story out there. There's nothing that's ever going to make Chris look like the good guy. He did this, and I think when he describes the rage that he was in, nothing could have stopped him. I don't know. Maybe he did kill the children at the house, like he just said. But he just, instead of the way he says it here, he says it, the Shanann did it. But maybe he did it and then killed Shanann. It's hard to say. But anyways, guys, thanks for being here. I know this was a really long live stream, and we'll have to go through this again. Maybe I can find a way to fix the audio a little better. But anyways, guys, I had a good time, and I'll catch you in the next video.